Kirk, is it time to learn now, bro?
I've got my thinking cap.
Oh, wait. You got your thinking cap on?
Yeah, I got my thinking cap on already. I'm ready to learn.
All right, let's reload.
Welcome back again to another episode of Comic Book Corner. I'm Dan Dilatori. Lots of things to talk about. This will be a bit of a rapid fire segment. First, let's talk about the ongoing Moon Knight series, because it's, for the most part, fairly popular. Most people love it. I really enjoy this series. But there are a few people that don't really care for the movie. And this particular person, my good friend Newbie, by the way, shout out to the Newbieverse. The Newbie show is an outstanding show. They are on Sundays and on Tuesdays at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. Great show. Newbie, not known for his self-expression, had a tough time explaining why he didn't care for the Moon Knight show. And in his defense, I was thinking about why I actually do really appreciate the Moon Knight show. I don't know if it's the unusual storyline, the out-of-the-box thinking from the Marvel Universe, or Oscar Isaac, who I think is doing an outstanding job playing multiple roles all in the same broadcast. But Moon Knight is absolutely exceptional. And to my ongoing prediction, and it's not necessarily a prediction, but I think it is something that probably should happen, and that is most likely episode 6. Rama-tut will appear in the last episode. And the reason why is I explained before. The Doctor Strange movie debuts 2 days later. Remember what we were talking about at the end of the Loki show when Kang himself appears. We talked about Kang on every level. It was all Kang all the time. That's still a running joke that no one seems to get. I don't know why. And yes, I wrote it myself. But I think they're going to do the same thing. And the reason why is very, very simple. I think when we go into the Doctor Strange movie, the Doctor Strange movie will refer obviously back to the WandaVision show, because Wanda herself is in the movie. It will refer to the Loki show because it is about the multiverse of madness. And it will refer back to the Moon Knight show because, again, with Rama-tut as a variant of Kang appearing in that show, it'll make a connection. And the reason why is very simple. Remember, Disney and the MCU are companies, and they're in business to make money. Currently, Disney Plus is celebrating about just under 43 million viewers right now, or subscribers, I should say. If they make this, if they connect the upcoming movie from Doctor Strange to those shows, that will increase, in theory, their subscriptions for Disney Plus, and they probably will top maybe pushing 45 to 50 million people. And that's pretty amazing for Disney Plus. But Marvel has always had this ability to interact and interweave its stories better than any other. And they would always refer back to, if you, let's say you were buying an issue of the Defenders and you read issue, let's say 51, and they said something happened in issue 23. Well, your instinct is to go buy issue 23. So the same principle applies here. If they're going to refer previous incarnations of storyline for Loki, WandaVision, and Moon Knight to this Doctor Strange movie, that will get people to sort of backtrack and watch these stories. Now, regarding the criticism to Moon Knight, one of the things that we have to remember, because we're all comic people, we all know comic books inside and out. We know, we get into the weeds with some of these things. Moon Knight is not a character that is known at large. He is not a household name. He's not Iron Man. He's not the Hulk. He's not Spider-Man, and so forth. So what the MCU is doing, they're doing what they do best. They're laying the groundwork. I believe they're going to keep this Moon Knight character around for a long, long time, and they're doing the methodical building of this character, building of the storyline, including all the Egyptian gods. We're all getting a crash course in who these Egyptian gods are, aren't we? Because they're also going to be part of the MCU as the storyline continues. But I will we'll find out by the next episode, because the last episode will have aired. But I'm really enjoying this out of the box series by Disney Plus and the Moon Knight series. Let's get into what's our next thing. We talked about Disney Plus. What's next, Ian? Are we talking about the Thor Love and Thunder movie? Hoodratville was our guest last episode, and he was dropping a lot of knowledge. So I wanted to sort of expand on what he and the panel were talking about. The first thing we talked about was Gore the God Butcher, who's going to be the antagonist in the movie. Now, there was a toy that was introduced, and it was sort of half of what you would expect from what we remember from the comic books, what Gore actually is. And I bring up this little angel here because when you think of an angel, this is sort of a generic idea of what we would consider an angel, someone in a white outfit, blonde hair, blue eyes, the whole thing, very pristine. And then he starts to, if he or she starts to go down a darker path, it doesn't happen right away. You would go down to something in between what we see Gore as and what we saw in the trailer drop. But eventually, as the character continues to go down a darker path, he would look more like what we see here with Gore the Butcher in his final incarnation. And also keep in mind too, the actors typically like to see their face on the screen, so that could have been part of the decision. But I'm looking at it from a logical point of view, from a higher up to a dropping down to a darker character. But I do think at some point this is what we will see in the MCU. Maybe not in this movie, but I think Gore. I don't think Gore is going to be killed off. I think he's going to be a recurring character. Just a hunch on my part. But let's talk about what do we have next, Ian? Oh, let's talk about some of the spec issues. And before I get into my first spec issue, I always like to give a hat tip to someone that any show that has given me information. And starting with this one here, Blue Comics. Subscribe to this guy. He's a really great show provider of content and comic information. He guided me to this issue here. This is Thor Annual number 8. Now the cover says it all. That is Zeus, the god of Olympus, battling Thor. And can you big screen that, Ian? There you go. See the thunderbolts that he has in his hand here. Now we saw the trailer just recently, and you saw those golden thunderbolts, just like it is in the comic, and that'll be portrayed by Russell Crowe. I think now they're probably not going to dovetail perfectly with this storyline here, but the battle will be the same. At least I would think so. Here's what I think might happen as Gore does his thing and starts killing off god after god, in not just with Asgard or what's left of Asgard, but with with whatever realm he happens to go into. Gore could kill Zeus now, or before he gets to Zeus and Thor have a misunderstanding, which is very typical in Marvel Comics, and they score off. And this is a great battle just for this one image right here. And it is when Thor throws his hammer during the battle with Zeus. Zeus, who is equally as powerful as Odin, does this. Look at, if we could big screen that, Ian. He literally grabs the hammer as if it was nothing. And this is an incredible, powerful character. Zeus was around for the longest time. He was an outstanding character in Marvel Comics. Now the suspicion is that this will be a one and done for this character. I think that's a terrible mistake because, again, Zeus, like Odin, had a decades long run in Marvel Comics, and it would be a shame if we only see him this one and only time. What do we have next, Ian? Regarding this is an obvious classic here for a few reasons. This big screen. This is Journey into Mystery Annual number 1. I've been profiling this book for over a year. In fact, the first time I profiled this was my first and only appearance on the Newbie Show. I had speculated on this book, and just a few days before my appearance, Russell Crowe drops that he is going to be Zeus in the upcoming movie. Now, this is the first appearance of Hercules, first appearance of Zeus, first appearance of Olympus. This is the first battle between Thor and Hercules. Hercules was a mainstay for many decades, an extremely powerful, very godlike character, literally an equal to Thor minus his hammer. The prices on this are still extremely reasonable. In fact, if I had to ask, or if I was asked to put a book that had dropped in price, it would be this, because when the speculation came out about a year ago, these prices were double what they are now. They've dropped significantly. This is an outstanding time and probably your last chance to get this Grail book, and this will be a Grail book that you can't regret. And this book simply won't go down in price any further. And even if it does, which I strongly doubt, you have a genuine Silver Age Grail. Let's go on to the next one, Ian. This is also a no-brainer. This is the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill in a very low print run, Thor 337. Now, when I was collecting back in the 80s, I fell victim to this because my comic shop was a place called Comic Relief in Berkeley, and I was collecting the Thor run religiously. And when I went to my LCS at the time, this was not there. And it took a while to finally get some of those back because of the low print. They're still out there, and these are surprisingly reasonable in value. The average price for an 8.5, maybe an 9.0, is $200 to $300. I think that is a pretty reasonable price for an extremely powerful character. Now, if he is mentioned in this upcoming movie, now's the time to get your hands on that. I'm not certain if he will, though. I know he will be in the MCU at one point, but I'm trying to think of just how many Thors are they going to bring in. Is the multiverse of madness going to affect the Thor movie? If that was true, then I think Beta Ray Bill would be introduced, or at least mentioned in a cameo scene, very similar to the Spider-Man movie, where you see silhouettes out in the clouds of famous Spider-Man villains and other characters. But I think this is also a time to get your hands on this, even though this is not necessarily a modern book because it was in the 80s. It still was a very low print run, and the price simply can't be beat right now. So get your hands on these while you can. Next up, we have another book. And now this is something people don't really think about. Can you big screen this, Ian? This is Thor Annual 10. And this is a character called the God Eater. Now, Marvel has this way about them where they will integrate stories from different books all into the same movie or same show. The origin of this particular character here could be used in the upcoming Thor movie. This character is one of the first original gods, if you will, and there were multiple gods on multiple different levels, as we all know in the MCU. This particular god is called, I had it written down here. Can you give me the next screen here, Ian? His name is on there, and then big screen it if you don't mind. I didn't write that down like I should have. That's the character there. I'm reading it. Oh, Atum, A-T-U-M. That's who he is. Extremely powerful character. He was the product of two different gods mating, if you will. There's a scene showing all that. It's not very graphic because, again, that was 1980s. But this god is designed. He's basically, his purpose in life is to get rid of the evil demigods, which he does so by literally consuming them. And as he consumes them, he starts to take on some of their form. He later takes, for whatever reason, he continues on or is brought back into existence and goes to Asgard and starts consuming a whole variety of gods, whether they're Egyptian gods, Olympic gods, and Asgardian gods. But this book is extremely reasonable, extremely cheap, and if they integrate any component to this story into the upcoming Thor movie, this is the time to get your hands on one of these things. What do we have next, Ian? Oh, speaking of the Doctor Strange movie, by the time our next episode comes up, what I want to do is give not a review of the Doctor Strange movie, but give my own unique spin this is going to go in several different directions. I'm certain of it. I'll probably watch the movie at least twice, but before my next episode. And so what I want to do is talk about possible directions this movie is going into without giving any spoilers if you haven't seen it. And also a more detailed description of the character Doctor Strange, because he was one of the original Grails from the Marvel Silver Age that Steve did co-creation. So we'll get into more of a detailed analysis of that movie and the character herself. For Ian Hoodrat's channel, I'm Dan Dilatori, and this is Comic Book Corner.